So, tell us more about Anne herself. I mean, what was she like? Why did she create this house? What is it that interests you about her?
So Anne was a pretty typical child, I think, in the late 1700s. She grew up on Nantucket Island, and her dad was a ship captain, so they had some money. Her mom would have been educated and taught the girls to read and write, as many Quaker women would have been. And Anne seems to be like a bit of a rambunctious child. She liked to be outdoors and, had energy, would run around. I think she enjoyed her village there on Nantucket. And I think she liked the way that her environment kind of interacted with the people there on the island. There's a sailor who had worked for her dad on the ship who came and stayed at the house in Connecticut later, and he thought it was really quite silly that she had decorated the house so much like, the attic was a ship on the ocean, because as a sailor, like, that was the least comforting thing possible that you would want to surround yourself with. He thought it was quite brainless.
Well, why did she treat her house this way? I mean, from her early adulthood, she was doing this kind of thing to that house?
Yeah, so she's fairly young and moves with her husband to New London, Connecticut, and he continues to work for her dad. They buy this house, a salt box house. It's very typical for the time. And I think it started innocently enough. It was a way to kind of connect with her roots, and it was just little things here and there, things that connected her to the sea, little trinkets and kind of the colors that reminded her of the ocean. But yeah.
So when is it that Abigail and Elizabeth moved to New London?
So their parents pass away in close succession to each other, and then her husband Ezra, his ship sinks, and there's one survivor. He doesn't make it. So for a while she's there on her own, but when she doesn't come and visit Nantucket, and she's supposed to a couple times, then the sisters come and check on her, and she's doing okay, but they can tell that she's not really holding up super well, and so they decide to come with their spouses to Connecticut, and they start to watch over her.
They watch over her? How does that work?
Yeah, so, at first it's not too bad. They just kind of like check in on her, but she increasingly doesn't leave the house. And Abigail kind of reports symptoms maybe that we would call OCD now, and talks about, she can't leave because she has to care for the fish, or that fishermen will come and take them all if she's not there. Even like talking about Ezra still swimming in the house even though he's been gone a few years. And she was always, really pleasant, easy to deal with for them, and warm. I mean, people from the community come in and will work on projects in the house. But it becomes increasingly difficult for all of them. But the strange thing is that her family kind of leans into her idiosyncrasies rather than like kind of pushing against it. So they can help her with her projects, and like other sailors come and help her change the second floor and build this dome. So they're involved with her, and they lean in rather than trying to stop her from what she's doing.
So her house becomes rather important for them, besides for her.
Right.
And then the house then becomes kind of the historical focus. She might be just written off, right, as just not being able to handle her grief, but instead there's this house.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing and kind of an anomaly. Maybe like a jungle room at Graceland, or sculpture gardens in the front yards of like rural areas in America. So that's kind of interesting. but it's also, you know, a good way to enter this period in time, a way to look at, you know, different architectural forms. Like I said, her house is a salt box shaped house. There's not many extant, and this one isn't extant either, but there are drawings and records of it. So it's one way to kind of look at the historical period.
And that's the significance for you, or are there other significance of the house for you?
Yeah, I'm very much interested in that, in the bizarreness of it for the time, and how her family, you know, both held up appearances but also kind of let her do what she needed to do. But it's also interesting to me the way the house re-exists, because it's gone now, in documents. It's almost like immortal in a way that I think Anne would have appreciated. You know, she thought of fish as like an immortal symbol, because like to you and me, to her, all the fish look identical. So each new generation of fish repeats the same cycle. So it seems like sort of an immortal, eternal sort of thing. I think she would have appreciated that about her house living on again.